The United States southern border migrant crisis and the policy of President Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden simplified. Clinton. The current illegal migration crisis at the U.S. southern border can be traced back to the 1990s and the Clinton administration. Their strategy was to target the busiest migrant crossings in the Southwest, which were usually in cities and other official points of entry. This forced migrants to have to take a more difficult and remote crossing in the desert, which they hoped would dissuade their efforts in illegally crossing in the United States. The Clinton administration also unveiled an immigration law enforcement plan in February 1994 that prioritized increasing border security, deporting criminal aliens, reorganizing the asylum process, ensuring greater enforcement of legal employment in the workplace, and encouraging legal immigrants to seek citizenship. In 1996, Congress passed legislation mandating jail time for some criminal aliens and authorizing the hiring of more Border Patrol agents over the next several years. Deportees can now also be held in jail for up to 2 years before appearing before an immigration board. Power was also given to local law enforcement in the border states to deputize police forces to uphold immigration laws. For the most part, these policies worked and illegal migration through cities such as San Diego and El Paso decreased, but the number of migrant deaths also increased as these migrants had to navigate the extreme temperatures of the desert. Bush. The next big event that affected Border Patrol at the southern border was the attacks on September 11, 2001. American leaders in Congress became paranoid that potential terrorists could sneak into the country via the southern border, so Congress increased spending and passed new laws. This included adding more border agents and immigration prosecutors, while also increasing the fenced area of the border. President Bush and other members of Congress proposed a guest work program and other avenues that illegal immigrants could take to have a clear path to citizenship, but this was met with strong opposition in Congress and complaints that it would lead to another amnesty and another mass influx of illegal immigration. After this attempt, the United States primarily turned to an immigration enforcement and a zero tolerance policy rather than reform. These measures did not stop migration, however, and more migrants continued to pour into the United States illegally, looking for opportunities. Obama. In 2014, the U.S. declared a crisis at the border due to an influx of unaccompanied minors and women making their way through checkpoints. The difference in this case, however, is many of these migrants were no longer from Mexican origin, as Mexican standards of living began to rise, but rather of Central American origin. Some academics claim that the immigration crisis was a result of U.S. interventions in Central America during the Cold War, with high amounts of political instability, violent crime, and poverty stemming from the U.S. support of authoritative regimes. Others, however, say that migration is a result of crime and lack of opportunity that is present in all poor nations, regardless of Cold War policy. Just as the prior Bush administration did, the Obama administration aimed to deport people back as quickly as possible and held them in detention centers until their court hearing and decision was made. These detention centers were often seen as prisons and held detained people in large, caged off areas and tents. There were also numerous accounts and reports of abuse in these detention centers by officers, and the Obama administration focused on deporting recent arrivals and people who committed serious crimes first. One of the biggest actions that occurred under the Obama administration regarding immigration was the DACA policy, which allowed illegal aliens in America who were brought in the country as children the ability to apply for a renewable 2 year period of deferred action from deportation and be eligible to get a work permit for the United States so long as they were not convicted of any criminal acts. The DACA Act, however, provided no pathway to citizenship. Ultimately, President Obama deported more people than any other president in American history. Trump. During the 2016 presidential elections, part of candidate Donald Trump's strategy was a hard stance against illegal immigration and immigrants, with increased patrols and a desire to build a wall along the border. When elected, President Trump implemented several measures to continue to curtail migration and enforce the zero tolerance policy. This included scrapping DACA, which was later reinstated by a Supreme Court decision, arresting anyone caught illegally at the border and separating families when caught, limiting the amount of permanent residency or green cards issued, increased immigration raids, and made anyone who traveled through another country other than their country of origin to claim asylum in the United States ineligible. During the global health crisis that started in 2020, the administration used Title 42 to block land entry to migrants due to health concerns about the spread of disease. Trump also implemented the Remain in Mexico policy, which made migrants stay in Mexico until their U.S. immigration court date. Apprehensions of undocumented people at the border did decrease under Obama and Trump from previous levels during the early 2000s, and most people attribute that to the Great Recession and tougher border restrictions under both Obama and Trump. Biden and the present. When Joe Biden took office, his administration first reversed most of the Trump era policies regarding immigration, such as the border wall, Remain in Mexico, and ending the national emergency. Biden also faced pushback from immigrant groups about Obama era policies as he was the vice president during that period. President Biden also implemented new guidelines for ICE agents, restricting them from seeking out deportations based on drug and other minor charges and prioritizing more serious acts such as violence and gang activity. Under the Biden administration, however, record levels of illegal migration and detentions occurred in 2021 and 2022, with more frequent migrant caravans. While there is a debate to why this is true, most agree that this is because of the worsening conditions in Latin American countries, the failure of Mexico and other Central American countries to secure their own borders, and relaxed border policies by the Biden administration, which could be seen as encouraging to migrants to try to make the crossing. While they are not a new thing, sanctuary cities also play a major role as they give illegal migrants hope that if they can make it to one of these sanctuary cities, they will be protected from detention and deportation. Though several administrations have tried, illegal migration at the U.S. southern border still remains an issue and looks to be a major point of debate for the upcoming 2024 presidential election. Thank you.